Hey everybody, did you know that 43.8% of houses that have sold so far in March in the Edmonton real estate market have sold over list price? Well, there's a whole bunch of other cool stats that I've got for you on what's been happening so far in March in the Edmonton real estate market. So you're gonna wanna make sure that you tune into this video to get all the details. And of course, if you like this type of content, make sure to let me know by hitting that like button and subscribing. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers and I could use your help. So let's get into the video. So as I mentioned, 43.8% of homes are selling over list price in Edmonton. That's pretty hot. And if we look at the number that are just selling at list price or higher, it's at 53.9%, which is pretty insane. So let's just look at basically what's been happening so far in March. I'm filming this on March 8th, and I'm just looking at the activity for single family homes since the beginning of the month, just so you can see exactly what's happening. And the market is really hot right now for single family homes. So let's look at a couple stats. So as of right now, there's 977 active single family homes on the market. I made a video at least a couple weeks ago now where I said there's less than 1,000 homes available. That's been kind of jumping up between, something in the 900s and sometimes going up at just over 1,000. But it's ebbing and flowing. It's not really catching up. The inventory hasn't been catching up with the sales volume. There's still less than 1,000 houses for sale in Edmonton. What I said in that video is still true today. If anything, it's more intense. I'll show you some of the other stats that can show you just how intense the single family home market is right now. Right now, we've got 407 properties that are pending. So that means they're under contract, they've accepted an offer. More than likely, the vast majority of those 407 deals will go through unless, maybe the buyer runs into a financing difficulty or there's something with the inspection or maybe one of their other conditions that causes that deal to derail. Those 407 are not part of the active listings, so it's an independent number. You can look at the active listings as what should represent the actual number of properties that are available on the market right now. For the sold column, I've got 219 properties have sold. That's just since the beginning of March on what's been reported up to today on March 8th. Filming this in the morning, so very few of the sales on March 8th would have been reported yet. It's even possible some of the ones from March 7th haven't been recorded yet, depending on how slow some of the brokerages are at uploading their sales. Now, out of those 219 sales, there was 22 that sold right at list price. So that means if somebody listed it at 400,000, it sold for 400,000. So 22 times that happened. And 96 of those properties, of those 219, sold over list price. And that's where we get into those percentages. So that's 43.8% of listings that sold were over list price, which is that's almost half. And if we combine the two numbers, the 22 and the 96, we end up with 53.9% at list price or over. So over half of them are basically selling at list price or over. There's a couple other stats I wanted to look at here with you. So for the homes that are selling over list price, like how much over list price are they selling? So what I did is I took those 96 listings, I did some calculations on it basically to see, because you've got some stuff that sells like, 0.5% over list price or all the way up to, I'd actually have to check what the what it was on the high end, but I think there was probably one that sold for 122% of list price or more. So you've got some on the extreme end, but I just wanted to average that. So what is it actually the average? What's the average amount over list price that they sell for? And I ran the math on that and it is 104%. So that means on average, you would have to pay 4% over list price in order to win and get that property. So this could be a useful piece of information for you if you're going into multiple offers. If you want at least a decent chance of winning, you might want to go, 4% over list price. Of course, this is an average, so that it's not that it's useless if it's an average, but it does make it kind of difficult to just take that number and run with it. But it does give you an idea that a lot of, half of the time or more, if that was actually a median, but it's not, never mind. It is an average number, but 4% over list price. If you want a decent chance of winning and you're having a lot of offers, good chance it's gonna go at that amount or higher. Obviously, there's a whole bunch that are still selling just over list price, and then there's some that are going more, but I am starting to see these numbers ramp up, and it's getting more common to see higher percentages over list price. And that's essentially what's driving the market and causing the prices to start going up, because every time you get a new sale, let's say a property sells at 104% of list price, now that's a new sold comparable. So the next time somebody's coming to go list a property that's similar to that, they're gonna be looking at that sale. If it was listed at, let's say 100,000 for making the math easy. It was 100,000. If it sold for 4% over list price, that means it would have sold for 104,000. So now that is the new sort of baseline target, maybe not baseline, but that is a new sold comparable. So if somebody else is going to be listing a property similar to that, they're going to be looking at that property, and that's how you start getting the market going up. You can't blame sellers for that. Obviously, they want to try to get the most money possible for their property. This is just basic supply and demand. When you've got a lot of demand, which we do, and not a whole lot of supply, and so much of it that you're getting multiple offers and you start selling stuff for higher prices, that's what causes the market to go up. So here we're gonna look at a couple more stats just so you can kind of see what's the average prices and whatnot. So the average list price has been $503,327. You know, it's an average when you get an odd number like that. The average sold price has been $504,003, which basically just kind of shows you, even though there's still properties that are selling under list, if you actually just average, you know, what's the average percent of list price that homes are selling for, it's actually over 100%. It's 100.3%. And this shows you, yeah, the average sold price is just a little bit higher than the average list price. So basically, gone are the days of putting in an offer significantly lower than list price and seeing how much you can negotiate. That option is off the table for the vast majority of properties for single family homes. And it becomes apparent immediately as soon as you see that there's, you know, 2 or 3 other people writing offers and they've got showings back to back for 2 or 3 days. So that is gone. If that's the attitude that you're coming into the market right now, unless you're looking for something that needs a boatload of work and is just not going to be something most buyers are interested in, that's not the reality of the market anymore. So that's the average sold price. Also like to look at the medians and see there's a much bigger difference between the numbers here. The median list price, that's the midpoint of the market, is $454,900. So prices on both sides of that price point are going to be very active. That's the midpoint of the market. Okay, so the median sold price is $465,000. So essentially, if you're looking for something between $400,000 and $550,000, that's a hot area right there. There's a lot of activity. That's where it's still really affordable for a lot of people looking at detached homes. That is a very competitive market. As you get over 550, you don't have quite as much competition, but I am seeing the activity and the heat move up into the higher price points as well. Part of it's just because you're basically pushing up the prices into those higher price points. But once you get quite a bit bigger and more expensive, there's not as many buyers at those price points. But we are seeing it sort of trickle up or push up into those markets as well. The average days on market has been 35 for the properties sold so far in March, and the median has been 15. So that's a pretty low number, especially since the way that they calculate the days on market now, even if a property is pending, the days are still ticking, essentially. There was a little while where it didn't work like that, but it does work like that now on the back end of the MLS. Essentially, if we have a property that we put on the market, and let's say it goes pending on the first day, just for simplicity's sake, and let's say that there's a 10-day condition period on that. So the winning buyer, has, let's say, a property inspection condition and a financing condition, and they have until, let's say they put that offer in on March 1st, and they say, okay, we've got till March 11th to do our conditions, and then on March 11th, they get all their ducks in a row, they've completed their financing, they've completed their inspection, they've removed conditions on the 11th. That's the day that it's considered sold, but because it was, let's say, listed on March 1st, it will count that as 11 days on market from when it sold, even though it basically went pending the first day or the second day that it was on the market. So with a median days on market of 15, that shows you that the midpoint of the market is 15 days. And if you've got, let's say, a week of conditions on that, let's say it's 7 days, you could basically assume that most the real median before it goes pending would be like 8 days. So that is really hot. The stuff is moving really quickly. And there was a couple other stats that I actually forgot to show you. I wanted to show the absorption rate. So to calculate the absorption rate, I'm just gonna look at how many sales there's been in the last 30 days and then what's active. So in the last 30 days, there have been 1,087 sales for detached homes. And as I said earlier, there's only 977 active. To do that math, we would do 977 and divide that by 1,087. And that actually gives us an absorption rate of 111.3%. That means we're over 100% absorption rate on a 30-day period because we had more sales in the last 30 days than we actually have active listings right now. So if we didn't get any more listings and we continued selling properties at the same rate that we have in the last 30 days, we would literally have less than a month of inventory before we were completely sold out and had nothing at all. So that is super hot market. It's rocking and rolling for single family homes, and there's gonna be a lot of upward pressure on prices. It is getting competitive out of there right now, and we're just getting into the spring market. It's gonna be pretty crazy to kind of see what happens. Obviously, there's gonna be a lot more properties coming onto the market, but it's a tough market. It might sound like it's exciting for real estate agents, but if you're competing on multiple offers on properties, it can take a lot of energy, showing a lot of homes, losing out on properties. There can be a lot of emotions for buyers going up and down on seeing properties and loving it, and then being like, oh, how much over list should we go, and that kind of stuff. So it's pretty crazy out there. There's definitely some pros and cons to it. If you're selling, it's a little bit different. You've got to try to balance, if you're buying as well, if you need to sell your property before you buy another one. More than likely, because if you're buying another single family home, you're going to probably not be able to get away with a sale of buyer's home condition. So you're gonna have to have your house sold before you buy another one, unless you've got the financial capacity to buy another house before you actually get your house sold. If you can do that, that's probably the best way to do it. To make it not as stressful for you, essentially. But if you do need to sell your house first to be able to financially qualify to buy, one thing that you could do is put your property on the market and then just allow yourself more time. So let's say a 90-day possession period. So rather than letting someone close in 30 to 45 days, you say, no, I've got to give you possession in 90 days or something around there, so that you can get your home sold, but know that you've got that extra time. So once you've got a firm sale on your property, you still have, somewhere around 90 days before you close. Now you can go out there and you've got some time to compete in the market and find another property for yourself. So that's probably what I'd recommend on how to balance those two. A lot of people have hesitancy of getting into the market when the market's this hot because they're worried about being able to find another house for themselves. So I'd probably recommend trying to balance it that way, because that's part of the problem. We need more inventory, and if everybody's afraid to put their properties on the market because they can't find something else, that just makes it even tighter. It doesn't actually help the problem. So be part of the solution. We can manage this together, and just give yourself enough time so that you can close on your property later and still have enough time to compete and find your new home. So I hope this video has been useful for you. Of course, I can give you great information here on my YouTube channel, so make sure to like that and subscribe to my channel. Trying to get to 500 subscribers. But I can help you so much more if you actually reach out to me and talk to me over the phone. And you can reach me at 780-819-5508, and you can text me or call me, or you can email me at trevor@trevortardif.com, or you can always go to booktrevornow.com, select the time on my calendar, and then I will call you. So looking forward to talking to you. I'll see you on the next video, and thanks so much for watching.